GM friends, welcome. It is Thursday. It's the Superchain Fun show, and I have an amazing guest joining me today. In fact, we have two guests. We have a surprise guest joining us as well, but more about that in a second, because I want to welcome the head of business development for cyber, and that is Mr. Ricky, joining us from Hong Kong.
Hi.
How are you,
Hi,
Ricky?
Rachel. Great. Thank you so much for inviting me to your show. I'm super excited to share a lot of the cool stuff happening on cyber and inside the Superchain ecosystem.
Ricky, I have to say, you are one of the most optimistic people on my timeline, and I am loving all of the energy that you have around Social Summer, and I cannot wait for people to learn how they can participate. So, just before we kind of bring our special guest up as well, our extra special guest, tell me in a nutshell, what is Social Summer and why should people be excited about it?
So Social Summer is a Superchain-wide campaign led by Cyber and collaborated with many Superchain ecosystem, including Optimism, Base, Zara, Redstone, along many, to celebrate all the social applications, projects, developers who are building meaningful communities inside the Superchain ecosystem. The reason why this is super cool is because this is indeed a Superchain-wide campaign, and we are finally, bringing something right to the world to tell them, there is a way for blockchains, right, instead of being a competitor, to actually be friends, to be partners, and to work on something great that is beneficial for all the ecosystems. And then this is only possible because it's happening inside the Superchain ecosystem. I'd love to share more about that, later on. But then that's what makes Social Summer such like a different campaign than anything we've been seeing in the past.
Amazing. And we have we're going to get into kind of the conversation of why you guys built an L2 and why you're excited to participate in this event. But let's bring up another guest. We've got Mr. Benji in the house with us.
Hey.
Hi.
Yo, man.
How's it going? Can you hear me?
We can hear you perfect.
Lovely.
So
Yeah.
Looking sharp.
Yeah, this is super exciting, guys. So tell me how you kind of came up with this concept to kind of fit it in with everything that's happening. There's so much going on with Onchain Summer. Superchain ecosystem is popping, but why Social Summer?
So I think the Social Summer, when we first started planning it, it was like 3 or 4 months ago. We were thinking, simply launching a campaign inside, the cyber ecosystem, like playing ourselves, because there are like 20, 30 projects that are already building on cyber mainnet. And it should be cool too, right? But then we thought about, okay, we already joined the Superchain. And then I think there's some huge potential of making this a super play, right? Instead of just like playing around inside the cyber ecosystem. So I go to Benji, our team had like a very close chat talking about the possibility of making the Social Summer a Superchain wide campaign. And I think the Optimism team really liked the idea. They go back, they have like a very serious discussion talking about making the on-chain summer, right? Superchain wide campaign as well. Also allocating a huge amount of OP as reward for all the builders inside the Superchain ecosystem, including the builders on cyber, right? So since on-chain summer has become like a Superchain wide thing, Superchain wide narrative, right, we decided to launch the Social Summer as part of the Onchain Summer this year, right, to celebrate projects that are building in the social space, that are building meaningful communities across all these blockchains, which are Superchain inside the OP Superchain ecosystem. I would love to hear more about Benji, on the your thoughts on it.
And Benji, this is just to note that you guys have been shipping, my goodness, between everything. Obviously Basis has its own thing going on with Onchain Summer, but Superfest has been off the charts, so much activity happening, and now this initiative, first of all, are you getting any sleep, and are you having fun yet?
I am just lucky to be able to talk about it. There is an absolute it takes a village, and there's an absolute army that's growing larger and larger and larger that is shipping relentlessly. And this example of Social Summer by Cyber is exactly that is the vision, right? I think when I look at the most basic way I personally viewed the Superchain is it's an ability to have multiple different minds work on one goal in an industry that is so PvP. The industry has been so like my chain versus your chain versus this chain versus that chain. It's been competitive, right? And we're fighting over a small piece of pie, small pie. The fact that we can grow the pie larger is amazing. And I think it's amazing for the health of crypto. It's amazing at how inclusive the Superchain is becoming with more and more chains joining as well. And the testimonial of like Cyber doing social summer, starting initially as like, okay, we want to run this on the Cyber chain, to going all across the Superchain. Like, have you guys seen these NFTs? These are awesome. Like they're so cool. Cyber like partnering with Binance Wallet, like to do this whole thing, like it's amazing. It's just like getting larger and larger and larger. And as such, like I'm happy that like very grateful that I get to talk about it. And two, when it comes to sleep, I'm actually sleeping really good because like we don't have to do it alone, which is just great. Like we can do it together, right? And it's like the team itself is expanding. So I've been getting my 8 hours. Okay, like more like 6, but yeah, it's that we can kind of work together on things like this. And this move by Cyber is like a massive testimonial that like we can do this and like we should be doing this. And it's awesome to know and see it happening.
I think about Dave Krugman's, the space that he just launched in Brooklyn, and kind of the whole concept behind All Ships, this idea that, like exactly what you're saying, like we're not going to grow something incredible by working in silos together. Like All Ships will rise together. And I think we're really seeing that with this activation, and just the idea that the Superchain is everybody. It's everybody who builds and participates. Can you go a little deeper, Ricky, in kind of how some of these partnerships came about and how you're approaching this as a BD?
Yes. So ever since we decided to launch the Social Summer as a Superchain-wide campaign, we've been talking to all these superchains, right? And like obviously Optimism with Benji working closely. We talk with the Zara team. We talk with the Base team. And we will be featuring a unique ecosystem every week. So the first week is like a dive in to all these amazing superchains. Starting week 2, we will dive into specific ecosystems that are contributing. For example, week 2, we are featuring 6 amazing applications that are building on top of Sparkcaster. On week 3, we are doing a featured dive deep in the base ecosystem, right? And then Zara, and then the rest of like the super chains. There are some very interesting special marketing things that we wanted to do, especially with all these products from different ecosystems. For example, right now, if you go to Base Paint, they are like a very cool platform, right? Like hundreds of Onchain artists, pixel artists, they are contributing to artwork every day, right? At this moment, right, they are building, they're creating an artwork to celebrate Social Summer, right? All these NFTs will be launched on Base. We wanted to reward these builders. We don't really care which chain these projects are on, right? Because they're on top of the Superchain. And if one chain success, we all success, right? We do share huge amount of, I think 80 million, OP worth of retroactive funding, right? Which is shared by all the superchains. There's all these grants program, the console that, we can all be part of, that we are super excited. Actually, if you're down, feel free to click on the site.
Yeah,
feel free to go to Base Paint right now.
I was going to actually just go right to Social Summer so folks can actually see what we're talking about. And maybe you can walk us through, both of you, on like how people can get involved and kind of the best track to move forward.
Of course. So for Social Summer, right now we are featuring week 1. As I mentioned, it's going to be a dive deep for each of the ecosystems, right? Day 1 is Cyber, day 2 is Optimism, day 3 is Base, right? Every day, basically, we will unlock an NFT for people to mint. And then every time the user mint that, our partnership with Binance Wallet guarantees a 200% reward back, which means they are encouraged to mint these NFTs and learn more about the ecosystems, about the projects. And we are also doing a percentage revenue share with all these projects, meaning that they will get an extra source of revenue from simply being featured in the campaign. And yeah, this is one of my favorite NFT.
Who did all of the UX?
We have
so good.
Thanks. So the UX is designed by our designer internally, and all these NFTs is designed by 6 amazing artists who are deeply involved in the Superchain ecosystem. Oh, and they're amazing people, and I'm just so honored to work with them throughout this period of time.
It's wonderful. So, if you could kind of snap your fingers and have an ideal outcome after the summertime for either of you with everything that's going on, what would that look like? What's the primary goal here?
So the primary goal for the social summer for cyber is to increase the awareness about the social projects inside the superchain or in the entire Web3. It matters, right? Because even for us, we started 4 years ago. We are the first projects in the Web3 space to bring up the idea of a decentralized social graph. Obviously, right now, people heard about the idea of decentralized social graph. They know, okay, you're trying to solve the Web2, isolated information island, right? You're trying to give back the data right back to individuals. But back when we first started, nobody really knows what it is. We've been, for the past 4 years, we've been building like the protocol, to building out like a killer application. We've also been trying out our account abstraction wallet. All these efforts, lead us to build an L2 like since 2023 December, right? And then the reason why is there's no L2 for social, right? We wanted to be the first blockchain that is built both on the technical standpoint of view or like the soft commitment point of view. We wanted to support the social developers out there, and then obviously choosing optimism, the superchain, is a commitment because we believe this is a like infinite sum game, right? We wanted to power all these developers, regardless if you're building on cyber, building on base, building on optimism. You deserve to be rewarded if you're building a meaningful community, if you're building a social application, the next gen infra for the Web3 social. Yeah, so for us, a huge success will just let the world know about our story, let the world know that there are so many good developers in the superchain space that are building meaningful community, that are building the next gen killer social application, or they are building killer infra that will be providing, really resourceful tools to support the next gen friend tech or other projects. Yeah, and then this artwork started around 24 hours ago from scratch. Hundreds of artists contributed to this paint to celebrate the social summer, and the NFT will be soon minted on Base, and we will be sending out tweets about this on social. So please, when this come out, please mint the NFT and support the artist who made this amazing piece of artwork.
Benji, what about you? Anything surprising kind of during this real kind of grassroots building that we're seeing during Onchain Summer? And what would be an ideal outcome for you from the kind of OP collective standpoint?
Outcome one, so a couple things. One, the ability to prove that we could work together and have various different like teams and networks on the superchain rep the superchain in their own way, and have their own unique voice, but also cultivate the superchain voice through it. Because like the superchain is not necessarily like one thing that just exists. It's one thing that we're all writing together. So things like this are a great way to do that. So I think that's one. Two, as Ricky said, is awareness. I think it's actually amazing at the global reach that the superchain has now. Like it's crazy. It just like has expanded. I think we almost cover every single part of the world in terms of user bases now. And that's because of all of the different teams and networks that are like a part of the superchain. So I think that's the second one, just general awareness. And then the third one is I think it sets the tone for collaboration across the superchain, where like Cyber has launched Social Summer, partnered with other chains within the superchain. We did introduction, but a lot of it is like Cyber, you guys like went all in on your own, like into the network, into the superchain. And like, I've heard so many good things about how people love working with your team and like people love the energy. And that's like proof that I think we just have the ability to coordinate with each other at various levels. It's interesting because like as part of the superchain, like the roadmap is this idea of interoperability, which is fungible assets across chains. So like an asset on X chain will also be on asset on Y chain without necessarily needing to bridge manually. So that's really cool, right? That's like users will just flow through. And that's technical interoperability. But along with that comes this idea of social interoperability. And I think like examples like this are exactly what that is. Like this is a social interop sort of push that has happened where we have a Superchain wide effort. And I think from there, when we have technical interop, it just seamlessly flows because we're already used to working together. We're already used to like our user base are already interpopulated. And now there's this massive unlock where like all these chains can just talk to each other very, very easily. So I think all three of those points are the main parts. So like proof awareness and interop.
Ricky, what challenges did you set out to solve here, and what was your background like? What, because I know you were involved with Stanford Crypto, and you are very much immersed in this tech. So, what kind of led you to this spot?
So before joining Cyber, I was actually building my own startup back in the Bay Area. I was accepted by the Stanford's pre-MBA program back in 2021. And then I decided not to go because, when my last startup failed, I actually decided to enroll my MBA. But then I met my co-founder, Ryan. He's, building Cyber at that time. I talked to him. I find that so inspiring. I find the problem that we as a team trying to solve, the Web3 social narrative, so amazing. So I decided just to drop out Stanford, all in Cyber.
I feel all good stories start with, I decided to drop out of my Ivy League education, and now I built this. Like, that's such a great story. I love it.
That's actually graduation in Stanford.
Right.
Drop out.
So awesome. And tell us about your team, because we're hearing a lot from Benji, and just my interactions with you have been wonderful. Like, tell us about the team that you're building there, and kind of what the spirit is and what you're looking forward to.
So for us right now, we are a 40 people team. Most of our non-technical team is in the Bay Area. I feel like, this year, especially one of the things that we decided internally is we've got to speak up more, right? Especially on social, because we do have an amazing team. We are so good at building product, killer applications, infra wallet product. Because like if you go out there, like the largest Web3 social application before is called Link3, right? It's built by us. It's also one of the product that really helped us to get on Binance. The enough traction that the product is able to bring us, right? We are also the largest account abstraction wallet out there on most of the L2s and Ethereum mainnet. But a lot of people don't know about this and the amazing product that we're building simply because we didn't speak out enough. And this is something that we really wanted to address as a team as a whole. And obviously, as head of BD, I think this is my responsibility primarily to speak up more, right? Talking to amazing people like you, working more closely with our partners in the Superchain ecosystem, because they're already there. And we are in such a niche of the market because we're building an L2 for social. And they're native synergies that we have for a blockchain. Let's say they're building for gaming, generic rollups. L2s, or the blockchain building for NFTs. These are things that we have to initiate and to talk and to share more, right? And then speak of challenge, I think this is definitely something that we identify, right? And then we are trying to solve, and then we hope this can bring more into effect. Another thing is that we really wanted to to bring the bridge between us and our community more, right? Because sometimes we have amazing content memes that are being created, right? And then obviously you have to interact, right? It's just such an important thing that we learned from other super chains, like Optimism, like Base. And this is also a great thing I wanted to share, right? Being part of the same ecosystem, you are able to watch closely about what are the other chains that they're doing great at, and then you can learn from it. So this is like a point that I definitely wanted to share as well.
I think, as somebody who's built in Web 2 for kind of 2 decades, and just seeing that risk for builders of losing your audience as you go from platform to platform, and just not having that ownership of kind of the cozy corners that you've spent so much time putting in energy to. I wonder where the revenue model will come from for social applications, and I think we're still kind of in a very explorative time in terms of how that might work. How do both of you envision the Superchain perhaps being a foundation for that? Do you think there are revenue models that are there that perhaps don't follow that old path of, you know, people's data being sold for advertising revenue? And, you know, is there a solution? Is there a fix for social? I know it's a big question, but
yeah. I will speak from cyber first, and I think Benji can add more on the Superchain narrative. So one of the key insights that we have accumulated from like the 4 years building the social space is that, you know, in order to build a killer or massive social application, you need the user experience to be as seamless as possible, right? Web 2 like the experience. And then obviously a key, or at least the bet that we made since last year, is a kind of abstraction. Right now, a kind of abstraction means a lot of things, right? But like to put it in one word, it's basically a tool or experience that user can have, right? That even if they are on chain, but they're not feeling any frictions, right? If they're clicking on pay gas fee, they don't know, they doesn't have to know they are paying gas fee, right? Although they're actually doing that, they doesn't have to sign in every single transactions on a dating app if they're matching someone, right? Although like every single transactions or behaviors when two-person matches each other, these are things that is valuable on chain because it's part of the social graph, right? It can be bring from platform to platform. But then like with a abstraction, these are the frictions that we will be able to minimum. Speaking of revenue model, I think that's a really hard question. But for us, we actually had a lot of conversation around that. One thing that we, you know, obviously Fintech, they are very popular back then, right? But then the reason why they only have like hundreds of active users right now, even lesser than those, but because like the business model is still based on speculation, largely on that. It is fun indeed, it's great like bootstrapping strategy, but it's not long-term sustainability. But the bonding curve itself is indeed a very powerful tool that we think is probably, you know, one of the possible solutions toward mass adoption, right? The second is just like using a kind of abstraction tools. And for us, we have been really pioneer in a EIP called for 3037. That basically that is the EIP for account abstraction. There's another RIP or EIP called 7560, which allow the users to, you know, bring the account abstraction toolkit into like a next generation way, right, to empower the apps. I'm not gonna dive into like the technical side, but let's just say that is like one bet that we're making, right? And then I think one of the unique edge that we have as the super chains is that, you know, for us, we all use the OPSec standard, which means we are only like a very few code difference, and which also means we are highly composable and interoperable with all these chains, right? Which means if there is a social application that's right, it will be very easily able to connect and utilize the resources, the population, the target, the market from all these other super chains, and it has like a lot higher chance of scaling up, right? To reach to massive scale, comparing with other social applications that are building on a single L1, single L2. No matter how like their community is hyped are, like the market itself is strained, and I think that is my thoughts.
Amazing and very thoughtful. And I'm curious, Benji, do you have thoughts on how we fix social and how we can perhaps create revenue streams for those social applications that actually are sticky and also keep people coming back?
Yeah, it's a hard one. That's a hard one for sure. I would trace back to first principles of how we all got into crypto, which I think is like resonant for everyone who is in crypto today, whether you're working in the space or you're using like apps on the space, which is you discover crypto, one, and then you discover people who also are in crypto, two, and you join a group chat, and then you make friends in the group chat where you hear about all the new apps and all of these things. The issue here is like, I mean, the pro here is at least like you're connecting with others. So it's a big integral part that allows us to not only join, but also stay in the space. But the issue here is like, it is closed off. Not everyone has access to the same group chats. Not everyone has access to the same like discovery mechanisms. And at the end of the day, like these chats are basically just discovery mechanisms. So the future, in my opinion, for Web3 social is this idea that like, what if you could just use apps generally and then discover group chats from the apps that you use, and discover social spaces from the apps that you use. Right now, it's the opposite. Right now, you have to find a social space. You have to be in the right crowd, or like know the right people, etc., to join a group chat. And then someone's like, yo, check this app out. Not scalable, but what is scalable is there's easy discovery mechanisms for apps. Once you join an app and once you really like it, you join a social channel, etc., associated with it, where you meet like-minded people and individuals. Same thing, but like that's, I think, what the future is. I think we need to just like, we have the powering mechanism, which is social connection, drives a lot of activity on chain and drives a lot of discovery on chain. But we just need the discovery of the apps to happen first, and then silo people into like the right respective social places afterwards. Things like Cyber Social Score, great example of that. Like it allows you to kind of see like, okay, like what is, how active are you on chain? What have you minted? Like, what do you like? What spaces do you hang out in? Oh, there's like 10 people here who also like the same thing. Maybe you can meet. Oh, are you going to the same event? Here's a chat. Things like that. It's like people love that stuff. And I think we're just at the cusp of building products around it to further like amplify that experience.
Amazing. Well, we have about 2 minutes left, so I want to make sure that we are getting everybody who's watching this video all of the information that they need to be able to participate in Social Summer. So, Ricky, give us your best kind of call to action.
Oh, the best call to action is please head it toward the Social Summer. Go mint NFTs that you really like. Go have fun with the creative bounties. A little bit more about that, right? So basically, every week we have allocated 1,000 cyber, which is around $5,000, right, for the creative bounties. Everyone is encouraged to contribute to any of the artworks, right, that you can think of for every week's theme. For the first week's theme is called "Not All Heroes Wear Caps." Right, basically, you want people to create like memes, artworks around the Superchain. Like if you go to Creative Bounties right now, you can see there's a girl who wrote a song about Social Summer, like why we should celebrate. It's actually super cool, And then we also have like
that so we can direct people. Is it on the website?
It is on the website.
Okay.
So if you go to, I'm gonna send you right now, the Creative Bounty. If you go to Creative Bounty, like the one that is being featured in the bottom is the song. Like it's just awesome to see like people just creating content out of like goodwill and out of their curiosity, and then bring such amazing things happen, right? And then every week we will be selecting one winner for the Social Summer Stallion Award. But basically, we have the reason we choose the Stallion is because we feel like you're bold, you're strong, you're creating amazing content. And then me and Benji, we are 2 of the judges out of the 8. The rest of the 6 is amazing artists who are contributing a lot. Yeah, that's the song. If you got to, oh my god, it's great.
Can you hear the sound?
And, I think there's like a bit lagging, but like it's just there. Like it's just amazing. Like it tells itself, right? How amazing like the communities of the Superchains are. And then these people, they're coming from all these chains, right? They're probably coming from Zara. They never heard about Cyber before. A lot of our communities is from Korea, Japan, Vietnam, right? Maybe they never heard about Zara before as well. Maybe they never heard about Redstone. But because of this campaign, they can be able to explore more amazing ecosystems inside the Superchain eco, and that's the goal. That's the goal, to bridge the gap, to let more people to have fun, and it's just amazing to be able to see these we are selecting like the Creative Bounty winners. We already see more than 3,000 submissions, right? So like so many amazing like works being created.
Well, Ricky,
such a blast.
Energy is contagious. I love what you're building. I'm excited. I want everybody to go get involved in Social Summer. So thank you both. Thank you, Benji, for joining us. And we will keep up with how it's going. And maybe you can come back and tell us how it's going at the end of the summer.
Beautiful.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back.
Thank you, Rachel.
With Doodles. We got Doodles on the show tomorrow. So make sure you're here at 11 a.m. Eastern. Thanks, everyone.